Hi. Okay, excellent. So the format of this class, if anyone, wow, Samantha, thank you. This is the best class. I think so too. I go to it too. The format of this class, and let me just put everyone on mute. Mute all. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. The class is a very practical class. We're going to learn Avodat Hashem and how we do it in our, like, within the format of our relationships. Now, it's not going to be a class where we're going to be learning in theory. We're going to actually be learning in practice. And in day-to-day examples, and you could feel free to stop me at any time to ask questions. And we also do something that's called an avodah, like we do work on our midot as things come up, like if you have any questions, and we're not going to be dealing with it in theory. We're going to be dealing with actual situations. I start the class with an avodah that I did on myself this past week. In other words, a place where I saw that I want to grow, and we're going to have a Devar Torah that connects to what we're learning, and then we're going to go into the learning more at depth. And this class, I want to start introducing concepts that we've been learning already, because this class has been going on for 2 years, concepts that we've been learning already, but that are good to remember and refresh. And they're going to help the new students like find their way in the waters over here. I would love for the class to be interactive, and you know, stop me at any time and chime in and join and comment, etc. Okay, so my avodah this week. As everyone knows, I was looking for a place to do a Shabbat with my family because we couldn't do it in Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, we have a smaller apartment, and the shul said that they didn't want to give us the basement. So I was looking for a place that could accommodate us, that wasn't expensive, but that was able to give us, you know, for 20 people and a kitchen. I knew that we were going to be cooking. I was going to be cooking for the Shabbat. And I found a place down south, like a girls' school that was off for Hanukkah, and they were willing to give me, you know, for a donation, their place. So usually when I get together something like this, I think to myself that because it's celebrating my granddaughter, I need to be responsible for everything. And therefore I have to cook for everything and do everything. But I know that whenever I do it, I don't live my emet. I don't live true to myself, because I end up getting myself exhausted and tired out. And I end up doing so much of it that I don't enjoy the celebration. So this time, in lieu of our learning and trying to go according to my emet, to my truth, and trying to go according to my strength, because going according to my strength is also going according to my truth. And when we say going according to my emet and to my strength, it means going with Hashem, because Hashem's name is Emet, and we're trying to walk with him hand in hand. I decided that I was going to go on the family WhatsApp and say, say, hi, everyone. This is what I am making for Shabbat. This is what I'm going to be cooking. And I said, I'm just trying to remember, what did I make? Oh, okay. This is what I put on the chat, that I'm bringing chalot, salad, rice, chicken, and potatoes, and tahina, right? I realized that was my emet. These were my kochot, and those were my limits. To do it in a good way. When I say in a good way, so that I can enjoy it, so that I can have a good time, and that I won't be overworked and angry. And like at the end of the day, when we do things that are not our emet, are not within our strength, we end up being frustrated and angry. So I don't want to be frustrated. Hey, this was a celebration. I put that out there. Now, for a day or two, no one did anything or said anything. And then my son Shalom called me up and he said, you know, Ima, I could work with you Friday. Put me in charge of whatever you want. I said, whatever I want. He said, yeah. So I said, you be in charge of making the chulin, the chamin. So he's like, great, okay. He said, you know, what could do you want me to bring the beans? I said, everything, A to Z, it's all yours. Perfect. And then a day later, Rini wrote to me that she's gonna, make the desserts, and Malka wrote that she's gonna make more food. My daughter Tal didn't write anything. And that was her emet. She didn't write anything because she has a baby and she must, you know what? I don't even know why, but I know that everyone that wrote, just as I stayed within my strength and within my truth, everyone else also stayed within their truth. And for Tal to be in her truth, she didn't write anything. She wasn't going to bring anything. And at a certain point, she called me up and she said, Ima, I'm just going to buy blueberries and strawberries. I said, honey, all good, all good. Shalhavet chose not to come. She had been already 4 weeks in a row not home for Shabbat. Like she had an arayat, she went to visit Rini, she had a couple of things, and she said, I can't make another Shabbat out of my house. It's too exhausting for me. And also, I said, fine, that's great. So I ended up at a Shabbat that was so, we all pitched in together. Tal's husband ended up buying these very special fizzy bears that were really delicious. It was a very simple Shabbat, but it was together. Everyone got to see the baby together. All the children got to see the baby. They got to play games, sing some songs. And I also decided that, I'm going to talk later on as we go through the class. I want to tell you what I decided, in what definition, how did I define myself when I came to this weekend, when I came to this Shabbat, but this is going to be a little bit later. It's going to be part of the class. Now, there was a place this past week that I was not connected to myself and to my kochot. And that was when, it has to do with this Shabbat also. Wednesday, my whole family came for a Hanukkah party. And then as everyone was leaving, the grandchildren asked to sleep here and be here. So I said yes. And it meant that I needed to prepare the Shabbat while the grandchildren were here. And I want to say that I was not within my strengths. I was living a lie. I was unconnected to myself because I really needed to pull a Shabbat together. And I was not able to do everything with a very calm demeanor, feeling like this is what I want to do, feeling that this is comfortable to do, that it's stress-free. I have to say that the preparations were more stressful because I agreed for my grandchildren to be with me. If I really wanted to be within my emet, I would have told Rini and Malka, girls, everyone is going to see each other on Shabbat, and the grandkids are going to get together again on Shabbat, and that's going to be good enough. But when I saw the grandkids so sad, we missed them, we wanted to see them, we haven't played with them in a long time, I took it upon myself to just have them. And I have to say that it was not my emet. I didn't live my truth. I lived and I created a lot of stress for myself. And when we do that, I think our bodies pay the price for it, because then we become sick, we become depleted, we become more weak, or it weakens our immune system. So that's something that I want to have as an avodah. That's something that I want to have as an avodah within myself for next time. Okay. Now, the Devar Torah that I want to say this week is an extension of what I said last week, and it's going to connect to the class that we're going to hear today. So we spoke about Yosef, who in the past parashot has been, the star, and Yosef's name means to add. It means to add. And what we see about Yosef is anywhere that he went to, he added his light. How did he add his light? When he went to Potiphar's house, immediately Potiphar made him the head of his household. When he was in the jail, he was made the head of the jail. When he came out to Paro made him the head of Mitzrayim. So Yosef means he wants to add wherever he is to the light that he has within him. Now, what is it about his light what creates his light? What creates his light is his ability to connect to Hashem. wherever he does, he says Hashem's name. Like when Potiphar's wife wants to sin with him, he said, I'll sin to God. Like, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to sin to God. Or when he's in jail and they tell him, we dreamt a dream, he said, the way God is going to solve it, that's the way it's going to be solved. And Paro also, he tells him, I'm not going to solve it. It's going to be God talking for me. So Yosef has the ability of shining his light through bringing Hashem into everything that he does. Everything that he does, he knew came from Hashem. It was so easy for him to be able to say, yeah, this is me. I'm so smart. I'm so, talented. I am, I have great abilities. I have great strengths. No, he was able to connect himself to Hashem. And through that, his light was able to shine anywhere he went. And that is the goal of the avodah that we want to do. Our job in this world is to add light. We want to add our light. And we want to add it as we're connected to Hashem. So the goal of this class, this is for anyone that's new in this class, is to help us with our avodat Hashem, to connect to Hashem, and also to help us know ourselves in depth. So this is, as I said before, a practical class with real life examples. We're not going to be talking theory, but really practically. And there are a couple of terms that we use in this class that helps us in avodat Hashem. And I want to go through one of the terms today, and we're going to continue the class for the people who have been here longer. But every single class, I'm going to bring another term up, explain it, and go further from there to more new material. Okay, so the term that I want to deal with in this 10-minute segment is called ratzon, is called our will, is called desire. Our desire, what we want, our ratzon. So what is our ratzon? I want to start with Hashem puts us in this world to add our light in this world, to add our light within our life, to our families, to our children, to our spouse, to our community, to the world. And how do we go about doing that? We go about doing that by being aware that when we were brought into this world, we were born into this world to bring a part of God into this world. It's as if God is like a sun, and all the rays coming out of the sun are the neshamot that he put within us. So there's a sun, and then there's the particle of the sun that is in this world, the rays that are in this world. Now we are the rays, and so it's almost like every person in this planet is like a manifestation of God in this world. We're like a partial God. And in order to have God fully shown in this world, in order to make our light known or shining in this world, how do we do that? By getting acquainted with ourselves, by getting to know ourselves better. Now, how do we get to know ourselves better? In every life situation, by the way, that we have, every single life situation that happens to us, I want us to stop and say, what does this teach me about myself? It's like, I'm just gonna go back to the two examples that I gave before about my avodah. After the Shabbat, I asked myself, what did this Shabbat teach me about myself? It taught me about myself that I'm able to delegate, to relinquish, to do, a part of a picture and trust everyone else that they'll be able to bring, like I brought my tov, the good that I'm able to bring in, and everyone else brought their tov. Right? But I'm able to trust that process. That's something I learned about myself this Shabbat. What else did I learn about myself? Every instance in this world, I want us to get to know ourselves better, because getting to know ourselves better is getting to know the God within us better. What else did I learn about myself? That when it comes to my grandchildren, I want them to be happy, and I have a hard time saying no to them. Now, that is actually something not so positive, because instead of thinking about what works for me, I thought about what was going to be good for them. And instead of being really acquainted with the kind of strengths that I have, I went over my strength. And it was almost like I took advantage of myself. No one took advantage of me. My children could ask me, Ima, could you watch the children? The children could have asked me, Safta, could we stay in your house? No one took advantage, no one ever takes advantage of us. But in this situation, I took advantage of myself. And I just pushed myself to a limit that I was not, that was not within my capacity. So those are things I found out about myself. And it's really good to find these things out, because we know that these are the places where we have our avodah, and this is where we need to go. Okay, so in order for Hashem to make himself known in this world, he put in us, every single person has a different ratzon, has different desires in life. And we need to take these desires and bring them to light and bring them to life. And that's how Hashem is going to get known in this world. And I just want to read to you something from Rav Kook, who is the first chief rabbi of Israel. 1 second. And this is what he says about Ratzon. 1 second. Oh, so before I even read it, okay, I want to say one more thing. So Hashem planted the Ratzon within us very firmly. And in that Ratzon is what we'd like to do, to accomplish, to learn. It's our desire. It's the ability to get things for ourselves, to acquire things. All these things are our Ratzonot. And everyone has different things that they desire and want to acquire and want to learn and want to accomplish in this world. We all have different things. And because we want to grow and expand and develop and accomplish, all these things are endless for each and every one of us. And they're endless, just like God is in this world. He's here and he's endless. And so are our Retzonot. Our Retzonot are endless because we're constantly wanting to expand and grow and accomplish and develop. And through that, Hashem's light gets known in this world. So we need to be aware of our Ratzon and not shove it aside, not to say about our Retzonot, it's not important. I'll do what someone else asked me first before I do myself, but it's selfish. All these things are a diminishing of our light in this world. But it's really not a diminishing of our light. It's a diminishing of God's light in this world. And it's a light that needs to be born in this world, which is why God put it in us. He put it in us in the form of a neshama, and our neshama needs to shine. And it's going to shine through our ratzon, our desire, our will. So now I want to read what Rav Kook wrote about ratzon. Okay. I am going to translate it as I read. 252, very good. Okay, he said, we cannot understand the wonder of the human ratzon, this kind of freedom that fountains out of us. We cannot understand it in any way but as a spark from a huge flame of the desire of Hashem, of the Ratzon of Hashem. So he sees our Ratzon as a spark of the Ratzon of God. And he says the human Ratzon is a fountain that you can't stem it. And its source is in God's Ratzon. And that human Ratzon, which is at the source of God's Ratzon, is the engine that makes the world exist. Okay? So Rav Kook sees our Retzonot as part of God's Ratzon, and through that, the world is able to exist. Now, all Retzonot are good. Okay, great. Emily Shrem just said she went on the Zoom and everything is working. Okay, great. Okay, all Retzonot is good because it's who we are. Example, I mean, this is the example we bring all the time. Example, I have a ratzon to clean my house and I have a ratzon to rest. And we're always going to say our ratzonot in the positive. We're not going to say, I have a ratzon to clean my house and I have a ratzon to be lazy. No, because our ratzonot are never in the negative. In the negative, nothing exists, but they're both in the positive. It's like me, I had a ratzon to be able to do Shabbat stress-free, and I had a ratzon to host my grandchildren so that they could all be together, right? To host means to prepare Shabbat, and then I had a ratzon to have all my grandchildren together. Both of them are me. And then I need to And then I need to decide which ratzon is in that moment my emet, my truth. Sometimes we have two ratzonot and we pick one. However, both ratzonot are who we are, and they're part of us, and they're part of our identity. In other words, the ratzon to clean the house and the ratzon to rest are both me. The ratzon to make Shabbat and ratzon to host all my grandchildren are all me. Both of them are me. And I need to take both of these ratzonot and say, but which one is my truth now? And go with that ratzon, right? We need to take charge of that ratzon. However, it doesn't matter what we choose, because both of them are part of me, are my identity. It means, like, if I told all my children, no, don't leave the kids here for, Wednesday, Thursday, I want to prepare Shabbat. It wouldn't mean I'm a bad grandmother, I'm an uncaring grandmother. It means I am a grandmother who loves her grandchildren, wants them to be together. I'm a grandmother who wants to prepare Shabbat. I choose to prepare Shabbat, but the other part is still part of me. It's still part of my ratzon. And it means that it's part of my character, it's part of my light, it's part of what I bring into the world. But I chose one emet. We can only choose one, and we choose one, and that's my emet. Now, so as I said, sometimes we have two ratzonot, we pick one, and the other ratzon is still part of our identity. So that's one thing with our ratzon. We have it, we identify it, it's ours. Even if we don't do it, like if I say, I want to clean my house and I want to rest, and I decide to rest, I'm still a woman that loves a clean house, even though I didn't clean my house. But that's part of my identity because it's part of my ratzon. Now, there's another thing about our ratzon, that we need to take charge of our own ratzonot. In other words, a ratzon is like a diamond that wants to shine in this world. So if it's like a diamond, it's something very precious. I want you just to all imagine your engagement diamond ring that you all got in your engagement. Now, that's our ratzon, and it means that we can't shove. We need to take charge of our ratzonot. We can't give it. We're not going to give our ratzon over to someone else. So, does anyone have a question? Okay, someone just went off mute. 1 minute. Let me just mute again. Okay, very good. Okay, so because our ratzonot are precious, we need to take charge of them. We need to take charge. When we want something, we make it happen for ourselves. There's in Hebrew a saying, "Rotza osa." You want, you do. Right? What do you want? What do you want in this world? You want to, make some kind of food. You want to exercise. You want to go see your grandchildren. You want to go to a class. Go to it. Take charge of it. It's your ratzon. It's your light in this world. It's your diamond. You're going to keep it to yourself, and you're going to make sure it shines. That's one thing. So we need to take charge of our ratzonot, and we also cannot shove our ratzon. We can't shove our ratzon on another person. We can't expect someone else to fulfill our ratzonot, right? And how do we want to know if we are putting our ratzon, our desire, on someone else? We need to ask for ourselves. We need to ask ourselves, if I ask someone for, like, let's say I want my husband to help me clean the house, to know that it comes from a place of me not trying to put my ratzon on him, I need to be able to accept a no. I need to be able to hear a no, and then know that I need to take care of my ratzon. I need to take care of it. In other words, once we ask for it, we can't be upset if we don't get it. If we're upset, it means that we're not taking responsibility for our ratzon. It means that we put our ratzon on someone else, right? Now, another thing about ratzon, which is really interesting, another thing about ratzon is we can't desire anything from anyone else. We can't live life expecting anything from anyone. If I want love, I need to love myself first. If I want respect, I need to respect myself first. If I want space, I need to first give myself space. We have a woman in our class that her name is Hannah, which is gonna like illustrate this. Her name is Hannah. She's like 65 years old. She got married when she was 17, had children, and she found herself in life going from being like, I guess she would be diagnosed as being manic depressive, because there are times that she has a lot of energies, and then there are times that she feels really depressed and she goes into bed and she sleeps. She's actually, she was an educator, she's an actress, she's famous, and she has really old grandchildren because she got married young and her children got married young. You know, she has a big family, a lot of children and great-grandchildren, etc. And she finds herself like being on a high for a couple of weeks, and then she becomes depressed. Now, the avodah that we do is we become depressed only when we have depressing thoughts in our head. When we think negative, or when we think things that are stressful or depressing, or things that are not positive, so that's when we feel depressed. When we think it, then we feel it. So Michal was trying to pinpoint with her what happened in the middle of Hanukkah that sent her into bed. And when she actually came to class, she dragged herself out of bed thinking to herself, what am I going to learn already that I haven't heard 1,000 times? And she came to the class, she raised her hand, and she said, you know, this Hanukkah, I started off great. It was like really on the tail of a couple of weeks I was really high energy. And then halfway through Hanukkah, I just became depressed and I got into bed. And the way I know my cycle is I'm going to be in bed now for another month. So Michal goes, no, there was a catalyst to your depression. And let's try to figure out what the catalyst was. I want to say this took like a half hour. Let's find what the catalyst is. And it turned out that, so, you know, Michal asked her, what happened the day before you went into bed? So she said, you know, I went to my daughter's house. I wanted to help her. I was taking care of the kids a little bit. The kids were off from school. I wanted to take them out. And I realized that my daughter was busy with the baby and there wasn't any food. And I decided to make a soup and make a salad. So she said, I made the salad and everyone ate, and the salad finished and there was none for herself. And then she went and she ate a cucumber. She went to take care of the children, and that's what happened. Now, not taking salad for herself was actually the catalyst of her depression, because not taking the salad for herself means that she is not paying attention to herself. She wasn't making space for herself. She wasn't respecting herself. Sometimes we think, let's give everybody and then I'll take for myself. But no, it has to be the other way around. Let me take first for myself, and then let me take care of myself. Let me take care of my ratzon. I want a salad. I made the salad. I want a salad. Let me take care of myself, because we're not going to get love, respect, space. We're not going to get it from anyone before we give it to ourselves. So when we take care of ourselves, it means that we're taking ourselves into account. We're paying attention to myself. And the fact that she didn't make space for herself, didn't respect herself, brought her into this depression. It's as if she doesn't count, and she gets into bed really as if she doesn't count. So this is something Hannah learned about herself, that as a woman, and she got married young, a lot of what she learned was how to take care of other people and how to put everyone's ratzon before her ratzon. And at the end, she has a cucumber left that she's eating for herself. She doesn't have the whole salad. And instead of feeling angry about it and resentful about it and stressed out about it, she dives into bed in order to ignore it, in order to ignore the fact that she ignores herself. So our first step in this world is to know our retzonot, know what we want, be able to give it to ourselves. And after we give ourselves, we could give out to everyone else, but we need to pay attention to ourselves first. Now, my first step when I ask myself, what is my ratzon, is what am I willing to do about it? what is the first step I need to take to make it happen? And so, like, I'm going to give an example. My ratzon was for the birth of my granddaughter to have my whole family together. And knowing that my house in Tel Aviv can't fit everyone, and I needed to ask myself, what is the first step I'm willing to do to make it happen? The first step I was willing to do was to ask the shul if I can have their hall. The second step is, and start from there. However, something that I didn't do, and that's why I got into a fight with my husband, is I also need to say what I want, take the first step, and I need to pray and allow Hashem to come in and give him the space to contribute to my situation. I need to let Hashem come in and allow him to also be part of the solution, to also help my ratzon happen. Because as I said, his ratzon and my ratzon are combined. They're intertwined. Okay, I'm stopping over here a minute, and I want to ask if anyone has questions.
Yes, Joyce, your mother, I don't know, what do you call it? Your mother-in-law? No, not
Yeah, my
mother-in-law.
stepmother-in-law.
Yeah,
my father-in-law's wife. Yeah.
Right.
My father-in-law's wife.
She can't get in. She just texted me this second. She can't get in. So I don't know if you want to see if you could help her.
Okay, let's just see.
Maybe. Is it possible she's not looking at the new link? Let me just text her back.
Oh, yes. Let her look at okay. Text her that, please, because everyone was able to get it even without tell her to go to the group description and just press on it. No one even needed a password.
Okay, yes, I wrote that to her. Did you get into the note?
Okay, great. And Rini, if you want, just send her the link. Okay, anyone has a question related to the class, related to what we just learned?
I don't have a question, but I have a story I could share. I'm gonna put my video on in a second. Hold on.
Go ahead, Adele.
No, it's not working.
Yours.
Okay, I'll do it after the video. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a failed ratzon story where I didn't succeed. This past week, I was in the kitchen. I was like working on lunch and dinner, and I was making chicken, and I had to marinate it for an hour. But I was very, very hungry, so I didn't really want to. I wanted to just do it for like 5 minutes and then cook. And then I asked David, I said, David, should I just make it now? He said, no, I think marinate it for the hour. Now, that's what he wanted. And I said, okay, if that's what he wants, that's what I'll do. But I knew that I was so hungry, and I knew that I could have done 2 pieces for me, cooked it then, and then did the rest for him. But I said, no, he said he wants it later. So that I'll do it later. So I'm cooking. Then I get so tired, I say, I'm going to bed. Could you finish up the cooking? And then he said, okay. And then I go into my room, and then I come out and I see him like taking a blanket and putting it on himself, and he's about to take a nap. And then I start crying. I'm like, I don't understand why you're taking a nap. I thought you were going to cook. He said, you said in 15 minutes. I said that 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I need you to finish cooking. I'm cooking all day. He goes, Adele, I thought you were cooking because you enjoyed cooking. I said, I was enjoying, but I'm starving. And then I realized, I said, first of all, a few things about myself. One, I know that I get to points sometimes where I'm starving, and I shouldn't allow myself to be starving, because that means I'm ignoring my needs. I'll make dinner late. Like I was working on dinner all day when I didn't eat lunch, and it was 3:00. So I said, eat now, that's most important. And even if I ignored and got to the starving point, you're getting starving. Eat right now. Don't push it on someone else. And then he ended up going and doing it. And he said he did it partially out of guilt, which I hate for him to act out of guilt, because he felt bad. I'm sitting and crying about it, that I'm so hungry, he needs to finish. And then we spoke about it, and I realized, I said, the whole reason why this happened is because I ignored my ratzon. My ratzon was to eat right now, and you said you want to eat in an hour. So I said, okay, we'll eat in an hour. And it just made me realize that if you ignore your own ratzon, and like you always say, there's so many ways. I could have done a million things, but I said, no, I'm going to wait the hour for the chicken. So anyway, that was a failed example, but I learned from it.
But you learned something about it. Yeah. Which it's such an amazing example, because this Torah that we're learning is called a woman's Torah. And part of the reason it's called a woman's Torah is because Adele, you and us, we are the hub of the house. We are the heart and soul of our homes. Everything revolves around us. And that is why we really need to be so well taken care of. That's why if you're hungry, you're not gonna, you have that ratzon to eat, you're not gonna ask him what he wants to do because you already know what you want to do. We need to take care of ourselves so well because you're the one that's nursing the baby. You're the one that, is giving emotional nurturance to the baby also. You're the one that the calmness of the house revolves around, which is why your needs need to be taken care of so well, and like first and most important, and your ratzonot as well. So when you do have a ratzon, right, and it was to eat, and it's really like something physiological, it's a physical thing that you need to eat. You don't put yourself on hold. You pay attention to yourself, just as you would to your own daughter. Yeah.
And David also made a good point that made me realize that I was not listening to my ratzon. He said, Adela, I thought you were cooking because you enjoyed. Like if I'm using, I was in the kitchen all day cooking, but so what? Like that shouldn't be ammunition. And then I realized that the second I was cooking and enjoying it up until I ignored my ratzon to eat. Mm-hmm. All the cooking I did after that point was not enjoyable cooking, and then it just turned the whole thing. So I said, you know what, you're right. I only cook if I enjoy cooking. So beautiful. That was also a good point that he made.
Excellent. Yes, because as we're doing it, enjoying it is such an important part of the process because we call it in our language, it's to bring our tov into this world. And it's exactly what Hashem was doing when he created the world. He created the world and he wanted to bring this world into fruition because he wanted us to be able to give all the good that he had within him, and which is why he created. And as we create, like whether it's we're doing the laundry, we're cooking, we're doing the dishes, it's doing our ratzon, it's bringing our tov into this world. And the minute we feel like it's not our tov anymore, we could halt and pause and reassess at that minute. What is my ratzon at this minute? I have a ratzon to cook, I have a ratzon to rest. And at this point, you're going to allow the rest part of your, characteristic to come into play over here. And you're going to give kavod and makom to the part that is rest. That's who you are also. And it doesn't mean that you're not a woman that doesn't love to cook. You love to cook and you love to give and you have a lot of tov to give. It's at this minute you decided to live your emet. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Adele. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you're sharing that it sounds like what you're saying is that almost like your ratzon is a part of that spark of Hashem. Yeah.
Totally.
But I would imagine that there are times when someone's ratzon could not be in line with what Hashem wants, right? Like, let's say someone's ratzon, I don't know, is to go eat non-kosher or whatever. How is that even possible then? Or what do you do with that?
So I'll give you an example that my husband, we had a discussion about it. And my husband said, I know men and I work with men, and he's a rabbi, that they are addicted to watching pornography and they want to have sex all the time and not necessarily with their wives. And they're like, I'm not going to even say they're not addicted to sex, but it's a big part of, their existence and who they are. So he said, they have it on for sex. And I said that the ratzon for sex, actually, we need to get to the root of it, right? The root of the ratzon for sex is actually to bring life into the world. And just like the desire to eat, and sometimes people overeat. So is it their ratzon to overeat? No. But the ratzon to eat is all about life. It's about living. It's about, and sex as well. It's something that, it's such a powerful force because it has people bringing forth human beings into the world. In other words, involved in a very godly act of populating the earth, of giving birth to, to babies, of bringing God down into this world. So at the root of every ratzon, there is more than a spark of God. There's a force of God that's in it, and we can't take it on a superficial level of, oh, he just wants to have sex all the time, or or she's just overeating all the time. There is a core point that is vital and filled with life and godly that's in this world, that's connected to God. Okay, do you understand that? Is that understood?
Yeah.
Okay, any other question?
So it sounds like what you're saying is that sometimes those things get misdirected, perhaps, or they've gone awry, but at the core of it, you'll still find something that's godly about it. Is that what you're saying? Right.
Yes. It's like two twins that are not identical, kind of. Or it's more like seeing it on the surface and then going under and seeing the root of it. And the root of it is from Hashem. There's a reason why there was such a strong sex drive put into this world. And that reason is to bring more neshamot into the world. Now, it could be taken into a place, just like a person that overeats. It gets taken to a place that's not healthy, but it's also indicative of a love of life, of wanting to enjoy life. That's, another aspect of it. Yes. Okay. Anyone else before I continue? Okay, so let's continue. Now, now I'm starting, so we took this concept of ratzon, and it's a concept that we've been speaking about a lot, and we're gonna refer to it a lot. And now I wanna continue with the class, which I think that you'll understand it also, even though we're going to go week by week through different concepts and learn them more. Okay. Now, in any situation that I am, I need to define myself, and I need to ask myself, what do I want to bring to the relationship, and how do I want the relationship to work? If I don't define myself in the relationship that I am, that's a place where I'll get into real trouble. I want to give an example of a woman who approached me and said that she has a trouble with her 4-year-old daughter. Her 4-year-old daughter would, at the beginning, when she was born, slept with her in her bed. And then the mother, after 2 years, moved her into a baby's crib in her room. And then for the past 2 years, she's been trying to move the daughter out of her room into her own bed and not being able to. And she's finding herself that she is sleeping in her daughter's bed, like the daughter's not in the crib anymore. She's sleeping in her daughter's bed in her daughter's room, right? So the mother is not sleeping anymore in her bed, in her own room, but sleeping in the daughter's bed. And I asked the mother, how did it all begin? How did it happen? And she said, when I came back from the hospital, the baby was in her bassinet and I was in my bed. And then I thought to myself that I wanted to protect my daughter from this world. This world is a very dangerous place and I want to protect her. And I took her from her bassinet and I put her in my bed and I slept with her. And I realized that slowly, I wanted to wean her from me. But in my mind, I still had the thought of this world is a dangerous world and my daughter needs to be protected from all the dangers in this world. Now, this is the message that the mother had in her head, and her daughter totally ingested this message. You're heading out by Rath. What time are you going to be back? Do you know? 11. Okay, so take a key. Bye. Okay, sorry. Bye, honey. Okay, so first of all, what we think in our minds, our children know and feel and ingest and behave according to it. Now, I asked this mother, when if we need to define your relationship with your daughter, who are you and who is your daughter? So when a mother tells me, the world is a dangerous place and I have to protect my daughter from it. So in this instant, the mother is the protector and the daughter is actually helpless. So we don't want these types of definitions, and we don't want these types of relationships with our children. In other words, we're not here to protect our children. We don't want to have a relationship like, let's say the mother that is, in this situation, the mother is the protector and the daughter is helpless. There are some situations where the mother is the police and the child is the child is like the robber. Michal was telling the story of when one of her sons, when he was like 10 years old, he stole something from the store and hid it. She ended up finding it. And, she told her son, in this house, I'm not going to be the cat and you're going to be the mouse. I'm not going to, go look at you, you're not going to go hiding from me and I'm not going to go looking for you. That's a relationship that we could develop. But she was saying, I don't want to develop this type of relationship. So we need to define as to what kind of a relationship we want, let's say as a mother-daughter, mother-child. So we're here as parents, we're here as, mothers, in our relationships with our children, we're here to help them grow, to help them deal with life's challenges. We're not here to take care of them. We are here to give them tools to be able to deal with their life. I have another example of a mother that was going to invite all her children for Shabbat, and her 25-year-old daughter had become vegan, a month previously. And the mother didn't make any vegan food. And when the Shabbat came, the daughter was looking around and she had a very sour expression. She was very displeased. And she went to her mother and she said, why didn't you make anything for me? Now, I'm vegan, and I told you I'm vegan, and there's no vegan food over here. So I asked this woman, what is the definition of you and what is the definition of your daughter? Like, how does your daughter see this? And the daughter sees her mother as a worker and she sees herself as the boss. And that is not a definition that we want to have between a mother and child, because as a mother, I'm always here and my child is here, always. And my mother is always on top of me and I'm on the bottom of her. In other words, my mother is a place where I want to learn wisdom from. My mother is a place where I want to hear her parents' wisdom, what we call it, our parents' Torah, which is not actually the Torah that we learn, but it's like the wisdom that was passed on generations in my family, because those generations went back to Sinai. And the mother over here needs to see herself as a guide and teacher, right? And we as parents, we're guides and teachers. So how does this mother, hi, what happened? What happened? Oh, bye, honey. What happened in this situation where, how could the mother switch herself to be a guide and a teacher for this child, let's say, right? Because she doesn't want to be the worker and the girl, the boss. So she could ask her daughter, you are eating vegan now and you want vegan food. So the girl would say yes. And the mother could say, would you like me to teach you how to make vegan food? So that you could say, so the daughter could say, this daughter was 25. The daughter could say yes, the daughter could say no. But the mother puts herself in a place where she is defined as the guide, she's defined as the teacher, and she's willing to give her daughter tools in order to deal with life. I want to give another example that happens in Michal Peritz's house all the time. When many of her children come over, she'll write on the family WhatsApp, for the Shabbat, I am making a big chicken soup and a rice and a salad. And then one of her children, like she has 4 children that are not married, one of her sons might come over to her and say, Ma, I hate chicken soup. I want to have schnitzel. I like schnitzel. She goes, honey, you like schnitzel? So now this, when the child says that, he's voicing his ratzon. Now we can't put our ratzon on anyone else, but this child is telling his mother, I want schnitzel. Honey, you want schnitzel? Yes. Look, I even defrosted schnitzel for you. Come to the kitchen with me and I'll show you how to make schnitzel. By teaching the child how to make the schnitzel, And then you teach your child how to do it. Now, what are you doing by that? We're giving him a tool in his knapsack of life to be able to get through life by fulfilling his own retzonot. So she comes and she says, you put the breadcrumbs and this is how you spice it. And then you dip it. And we're talking about a son that's 10 years old, and you dip it and here's the oil and you put it in the oil. And she watches him and he makes the schnitzel and she says, and now, honey, you wanted schnitzel and you made schnitzel for yourself. You had a ratzon and you took care of your own ratzon. This is how, as mothers, we define our roles as guides, as teachers, and we're able to give our children the knowledge and the ability to make their retzonot shine in this world. The same as to, a daughter that says, Ma, there are no more towels. All the towels, there are no more clean towels. Honey, you want clean towels? That's your ratzon. Come here, I'll show you how to work the machine. This is how you put in, this is how you turn it, this is how you switch it, and you could get yourself clean towels. In other words, it's not allowing ourselves to be defined by what our children are telling us they want. It's we are taking ourselves and we are defining ourselves. We are defining ourselves. As we define ourselves, we're able to teach and guide our children into doing their retzonot. And it's never from a place of anger. It's never from a place, who do you think I am? I'm not your maid. I'm not your boss. I'm not your this. I'm not your that. It's always with a desire to help clarify to them what their ratzon is. Always with a desire to want to guide and teach them. And always when they come to us and we don't impose it on them. In other words, for us to be able to teach our child, they need to be willing to learn. They want to be the student and we'll be the teacher. Now, another child came to Michal and said, you're just making soup and salad? That's what you're making for Shabbat? But you know that I love tahina. Honey, you love tahina? Wonderful. Do you know how to make tahina? No, mine. I never make tahina. Great. Do you want me to teach you how to make it? You always say, would you like me to teach you how to make it? Now, the girl could say, no, I don't want you to teach me how to make it. And then there's no tahina. Or the girl could say, yeah, ma, I'd love for you to teach me how to make it. And you take step by step and we teach them how to make it. And that goes for everything between us and our children. We're here to give them tools. We're here to guide them. We're here to teach them. We're not here to protect them, to take care of them, to make sure they're not hurt, to wrap them. Those are not our jobs with our children. Okay. Oh, there was another story actually in Michal's class of a mother who has a son that has epilepsy. And she's divorced. She has a son with epilepsy, and he has attacks, every once in a while. And this mother went out to protect him and to fight for him. She got him into the army, and he was doing a job in the army, which is very hard. Like, the army doesn't want to take anyone that's handicapped or, that is not in top form, because then it means that they have to provide for them a lot of medical assistance. However, in Israel, when you don't go to the army, then you feel like you're someone out of society. She fought for him to get into the army and to mainstream, et cetera, et cetera. And when Michal asked her, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you define yourself between you and your son? She defined herself as the protector, and her son is the victim. And she actually looked at her son like he's always a victim. He's a victim in life. He's a victim with his father. She got divorced because, the father didn't want to handle an epileptic son, whatever. And her definition in this relationship is wrong. Part of the reason that he's having epileptic fits is because the mother saw him as a victim, because she saw that life always gave him a raw deal. In other words, we've seen many mothers that even if their children are handicapped and sick or whatever, their attitude is, you can do it. You have the strength to do it. I could guide you through it. The world is a good place. No one is a victim. Like, they have this kind of attitude of, what's in our head is going to make what's in our life come true. And that gives their children the strength and the power to be able to get on top of life and grab life by their hands and really live it to the fullest. Now, a mother that sees her child dealing with difficulties, the worst thing she could do is feel bad for them. Because they feel it, they know it. They feel if we pity them, if we feel bad for them, if our heart is breaking for them, if we feel bad for them. And because we need to realize that what our child is going through is the route Hashem has for them in this world to go through, right? And they need to deal with the challenges. And the tools that we give them are not us protecting them or making it easy or cushioning the way for the children, right? And we're not here to solve their problems. I am here to give the people around me tools to help develop themselves to deal with their challenges. So in my backpack of life, I put all the tools that I got from my parents, from my teachers, from the Torah, from Hashem, right? And I take it out and I use it as needed. And when my children come to me with problems, I need to help them to take out their tools that'll help them. Now, and if they don't come to me and ask, right? If they don't come and ask, Ima, what do you think I should do? First of all, I never tell them what to do. I try to see what tool needs to be taken out of the backpack for them to use. And I listen to them, right? If I'm not asked to help, then I listen. Before I went for this Shabbat, right? We had a whole big family Shabbat. Now, when we have family Shabbatot, there are opportunities for togetherness and joy and happiness. And there are also opportunities for like people to look at one another and, for maybe fights or little things to erupt or different stresses to come out and, and make themselves known. So before I went out to this Shabbat, I asked myself, how do I define myself for this Shabbat? How do I want to define myself? Because if I don't define myself, then someone else is going to define me. So we want to define ourselves first. So I said to myself, I want to define myself in the following ways. I want to come to the Shabbat with good energy. And I want to bring with me my joy, my happiness, because there was so much joy and happiness within me. I have a granddaughter that's called Michal Tawil, my first one. I have another one, Michal Hallel, but not Tawil. So I'm filled with joy, I'm filled with happiness, and I'm filled with good energies. I am in charge of my good feeling, I'm in charge of my energies, and this is what I want to bring to the Shabbat. That's number one. The number two thing that I wanted to bring to the Shabbat is I want to be able to listen to everyone and not voice an opinion without explicitly being asked. I'm not voicing my opinion, I'm coming here to listen. And the number three is I want to come to this Shabbat and there's something that's called, that I mentioned in class before, that religious men do, and it's called Shmirat Ha'enayim. It means that they watch their eyes, where they look. Usually it means that they don't want to look somewhere where there's a woman dressed immodestly, and they watch their eyes. So I think watching our eyes for women is something much more important than with men. And it means, first of all, I don't watch where any one of my sons walked in to Minyan, who came early, who came late, who woke up, who slept late. That means watching my eyes. I don't watch what anyone wore, what they put on, how they put it on. No, I don't see what time everyone came for the Shabbat. They came late, they came early. No, I decided to come. I define myself as someone who's going to watch my eyes. I'm not looking at anyone to see anything about them. Like I remember myself years back, let's say in shul, like when I came home from shul, I could have told my husband what everyone was wearing down to the last accessory. Like those are the things I would see with my eyes, until I said to myself, I'm coming to shul to pray. Like by me not watching my eyes, I'm robbing myself of my of what I came to shul to do, to pray. So those were the three things I went to define myself before I went on this family Shabbaton together. And once I define myself in that way, any interaction that I had, I need to ask myself, does that come under the definition that I went to this Shabbat? Does it come under the definition of me bringing my joy and happiness and good energies? Does it come under me listening? Does it come under me, watching my eyes? And another very cute story. So first of all, our children go with the tools that we gave them and walk with them their whole life. Those are the tools that are taken out. That's why a lot of times when someone passes away, we sit around and we talk, what was the message of that person gave us? And basically the messages, the ideas that they gave us are the tools that they gave us to live our lives. So we're not going to wait for us to die in order to give our children the ideas, right? The tools are basically ideas. So we're not going to wait. We're going to give the ideas, and those are words of wisdom for our children to put in their knapsack of life. Michal, my teacher, Michal Paris, anyone that doesn't know, is the teacher that I've learned the past 3 years from. And these are the classes that I'm passing on. So she took her 3 oldest children who are married on a trip in the desert. And it was like a pretty hard trip. One of her daughters has 5 children. Like the oldest is 12, 10. There's a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. Now, the 1.5-year-old was on the husband's back. And she said, and we really went up like a very big hill. And the 4-year-old came to her daughter. Her daughter's name is Ayelet Hashachar. The 4-year-old came to the daughter and she told her mother, Ima, it's hard for me to walk. I can't do this anymore. I can't do it any longer. And the mother bent down and looked at her in the eyes and told her, if you tell yourself in your head that it's hard for you, then it will be hard for you. If you choose to say in your head that it's going to be easy for you, then in your heart, it will be easy for you. Now, that message created a reality in this little girl's world that she's able to choose what she will say in her head. If you say to yourself, it's going to be hard, it's really going to be hard. If you say to yourself, I can do it, then you're going to be able to do it. And it's teaching her something, whatever you say, that's what's going to be. I can choose what to think. I hold in my head what to think, and I create the way my life is going to look. The way my life looks is only because I created in that way. Hashem gave me the facts of my life, but the way it's going to look is totally up to myself. And Michal said that the minute the mother said that, they had another 2-hour walk to continue. This little girl who was 4 years old went with her 8-year-old sister, stuck to her, and made it to the end of the maslul, the path, and they didn't see her throughout the whole trip. So the mother gave her this kind of a tool of, it's going to be the way you're going to imagine it to be. Your life is going to look the way you want it to look, or what you're going to say. And this girl really took it into herself. So these are tools we give ourselves and we give our children. And these are the ideas, the tools are the ideas, and we give it to them for life. Okay. Any questions? I'm stopping now for a minute. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, I have tools, and the tools also help me create boundaries for myself. Like on Shabbat, there comes a time where Shabbat comes in, and I stop from work when Shabbat comes in. Another boundary that I have is not touching anything that's mine. So that's an idea, right? But it's also a boundary. So tools are connected with boundaries. In Havdalah, when we say, Ana Hashem, we say, Ana Hashem Hatzlichana. And usually the common meaning of Hatzlichana is let us be successful. However, in Hebrew, Hatzlicha, doesn't only mean success. In Hebrew, Hatzlacha means to forge, to go across. It's like litzlach, it's like to forge a river, to get across the river. So on Havdalah, we ask Hashem, help us forge the river of life successfully, right? We want Hashem, and how do we do that? Part of the way to do that is walking around with these tools, right? Walking around with these tools. And another part is allowing us to forge the river of life in a pleasant way, in a good way, in a stress-free way, in a shalom way, in a way that helps us go up on the path is my ability to put boundaries, my ability to put boundaries around me. And when I put boundaries around me, that means that the people around me are boundaried as well. Why is that? When I put boundaries around myself, like I'm a plate, let's say I'm a plate and I'm boundaried by the parameters of the plate. When I put boundaries around myself, even if someone else didn't put boundaries, they're not going to be able to come into me. Okay. And by not being able to come into me, that puts me in a place where I am going to be able to give wisdom and tools and teaching to my children or my husband or the people around me, because I'm not enmeshed with them. I'm not mixed up with them. Okay. So these boundaries are very important to the tools that we're developing, because they will allow us to be able to give the tools over. Okay, so as I said, like, who am I? Let's say I'm this plate, right? And there's parameters to this plate, and the plate is my boundary, and no one could come within my parameter, and I can't go into someone else's parameter as well. And I need to know myself within my parameter. In other words, in the level that I am, I need to know my makom, my place, and I need to know my place in this world without playing games. And when I say that, I mean, I need to, when I say yes, I need to really mean the yes that I'm saying, not to say yes when I really mean no, and not to say no when I really mean yes. I'm not saying anything to please anyone. I'm not doing anything because this is what we do, and this is who we are, and this is how it's going to seem like, and what are they going to say? In order to really know my place within my parameter, within my boundary, I need to be honest with who I am. And it means I need to agree for this minute that I'm where I am, that this is who I am. And now it's not good and it's not good. It's not positive and it's not negative. And what I want to say, that spark of Hashem that's within us is always all good. So there's no way of me not being good, right? There's no way of me being negative, because every part of me, like that ray of light that is Hashem within me, is good. So it's not a matter of I'm going to hurt someone's feeling, I'm going to let someone down, I'm going to disappoint them, they're not going to be proud of me. All these things are irrelevant, because when I take someone else into account to live my life, I'm actually trying to shine their light that I really am not able to do, because only he could shine his own light. So I need to make sure that I am who I am, and that's without trying to accommodate anyone around me. Okay? The person next to me, I need to realize, is another ray of light from God. They're also a manifestation of God in this world. And we need to allow them to have their own boundaries, and they're in their own plate. Sometimes they're going to try to jump into my plate, but if I'll be boundaried enough, no one's going to be able to get into my plate. I need to realize that next to me is another neshama, and I need to be able to give them makom and kavod, right? The reason we're separating ourselves from others is because we're trying to stand up as independent entities to be able to bring our light into this world. If, let's say, Yosef, right? Yosef, anywhere he came, he added of his light. But let's say Yosef, instead of adding of his light, he would have gone through his life saying, this is what my brothers did to me. They kicked me out. My father sent me to them and he knew they hated me. And, my mother died when I was young. And I'm just like this big fat victim, right? If he would have said that, like there would be no way for him to shine his light. He was able to say everything that happened is from Hashem, and I'm going to see what I can go about bringing my special light into this world. So he didn't enmesh himself with what had happened, with what his father did, with what his brothers did, with what Potiphar's wife did, with what, like, even when Sar HaMashkim didn't remember him to Paro, he wasn't like, I can't believe he didn't do it. No, he went about giving of his good and adding of his good wherever he was, because he wasn't enmeshed with anyone. No one, it was like Michal Peretz's daughter told her daughter, if you think in your head that it's going to be hard for you, it's going to really be hard for you in your heart. If Yosef would have thought, oh, poor me, what did they do to me, blah, 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 his life would have really been hard. But he refused to allow what his brothers did to him to dim his light, which is why he's called Yosef HaTzadik, and which is like a page we need to take out of his book. He's called HaTzadik because his eyes were to Hashem, and he always wanted to just add more of his good in this world. So now in the physical world, let's say when we have things jumbled in our drawer, we can't, it's like when we have things jumbled in our drawer, it's like us being jumbled with our children, jumbled with our husband, jumbled with our mother-in-law, jumbled with our parents, right? We're enmeshed with them. And we're trying to, this class is really called drawers, and I'm not going to explain why it's called drawers now. We're going to get to it in a different time, but it's like our physical world of our drawers really reflect our spiritual world. So I really want to go into what does it mean in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, it means to have a relationship. When I give someone else kavod and makom, it means that we want to have a relationship that, yeah, okay, sorry everyone. A phone call came through and I just needed to press it. It means we have a relationship that we're not trying to protect. We're not trying to solve problems. I'm not trying to feel what they feel. I don't get mixed up with my child or the person across from me, because when we do get jumbled, when we have a drawer jumbled with underwear and socks and whatever, when we can't see anything, we can't see anything that's there. We can't find what we want. And when we get jumbled with our child also, we can't see them. So we want to like separate ourselves so that we could see the person and the light across from us. I want to just tell you, and I'm going to end with this. I want to tell you a story about my son Shlomo, who called me up, and he has a job. He makes ecological pools, and in his free time, he likes to learn certain things. And he called me up and he said, I am very down on myself. And Shlomo, what are you down on? He said, I realized about myself that I'm trying to teach myself Arabic and I'm trying to teach myself guitar, and I'm very impatient with myself. I'm impatient with myself because I just feel like I'm not getting where I want to get to, fast enough. Like I want to accomplish a lot more and I'm just not getting there. And I'm also upset with myself because as I'm trying to rush this process, it makes me forget of the things in this world that I need to thank Hashem for. And I was listening to him and I thought to myself, what tool can I give him that might help him in this? So the old me, the me that would have gotten enmeshed with my son, would be immediately to like, Shlomo, it's all going to be okay. You do so much. You're so amazing. You're great. Don't be down on yourself, blah, 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 all that. And all that is really just trying to give him advice and to protect him. It's not giving him a tool to be able to figure out how he wants to lead his life. And I remembered I went to a seminar of how to do outreach a couple of weeks ago. And I remember one of the rabbis telling the story that we all know, one of the teachers, and he said that when we're in our parents' womb, we learn Torah. And right when we come out, the angel like taps us over here and we forget the Torah. And then we need to spend the rest of our lives relearning or trying to remember the Torah that is within us. All the Torah that we learned is within us. And in our life, we need to try to remember it. And that's what we go through life. We go through life learning in order to acquire the Torah that we had to begin with. It's like an act of remembering. So I told Shlomo, when he told me that he wants patience for himself in this process, right? He wants patience with himself, like he wants to enjoy the process and not just reach The fact that he already knows Arabic and he knows guitar and he learned the Torah the day that he put for himself. And he wants to thank God for the things that he has in his life. And I told him, you did not forget what you learned in your mother's womb. In other words, it's all, and except for the sentence, I didn't tell him anything. And what I was telling him is, honey, all the Torah is inside of you. You need to just help it come out. But the Torah is in you and you have it. And all you need to do is just to remember it, right? If we are, let's say, angry or nervous with those around us, it means that we became enmeshed with them and that we need to create a distance, a separation, a makom, a kavod. We have to live our lives. We have to allow the other people to live their lives. Why? Because their light needs to shine as well. So there's me, there's him, and there's the definition of who I am and who he is. And we cannot force the others to do anything because then it creates anger. And anger, as I said before, harms our body, harms our soul, harms our immune system. And we didn't come to this world to harm anyone. And one last thing that we could do is we could, when we find ourselves enmeshed, we could take a couple of steps back, not to disconnect, but just to be able to see things from a distance. It's like, you know how people that had near-death experiences describe of how they had an out-of-body experience? So I want us to be able to have like this out-of-body experience and to give the space to see the picture from like a larger, how do you say, like not from a larger place, but from a wider perspective. That's what I was looking for. We need to go up and be able to give this wider perspective, and it means to give more space. Chabad has a question that they asked the Rebbe of Chabad, you know, where does God exist? And the Chabad rabbi said he only exists in the place where we allow him to enter. Allow him to enter means the makom. When we make that space, that's where we allow Hashem to enter. And that is, you know, I think that's the last message that I want to leave us with, is that we didn't come to this world to be the center of the universe. We came to this world to worship Hashem. And it means giving to those around us space and respect, kavod and makom. But it also means that the first person we need to give the kavod and makom to is ourselves. Okay. Any questions, please? Anyone that wants to ask can unmute themselves. They're welcome to. Okay. Wow, after this class, if I don't get a question, I think like, okay, Michal, you didn't teach this good. I don't think anyone
Michal,
understood anything. Yeah.
a question. I just want you to further flesh out, you know, how to leave space for yourself.
Great. Okay, tell me what you mean by that.
I mean, I
What do you mean?
understand how to leave space and understand not to press things, and leave the space for Hashem to do what he's going to do. But how do you leave space for yourself? Like you're describing. It sounds so beautiful, but I just want to understand practically.
Okay, so the space that we leave ourselves happens when we give ourselves kavod, when we give ourselves respect. Like the woman, you were here from the beginning of the class, the woman who was in and out of bed. Oh, okay. So hear the class, and there was an example of a woman that was in and out of depression, you know, a couple of weeks in bed, a couple of weeks out of bed. And she made a salad for her whole family, and everyone took, and she didn't have for herself. So she did not give herself this kavod to give herself first the salad. And it would have meant taking the space for herself to be able to take care of herself first. And that's how we do it. I think kavod, respect, and space are two things that are really intertwined when we want to give ourselves, right?
Yeah.
That would be how I would explain it.
That's great.
Give myself,
Thank you.
give myself also the space to do the things that I want. Give myself the space to figure out what I want. only through that our neshama would be able to shine in this world. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Joy. Anyone else? So, Joy, you and anyone that asks questions, when you ask, I feel like, okay, this class was listened to. Thank you. Anyone
Michal,
else?
Sometimes we're just so
listening.
enamored with the
Right.
beauty of what you're saying that
Right.
we don't come up with the question right away. It's not that we don't hear.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
there's just so much information and so much that our heads are turning and thinking that I hate
wow.
to speak for everyone, but that's the
Okay.
truth of the matter.
I had a rabbi, and his name was Rav Shagar, and he was one of the best rabbis I ever learned with. And I remember coming to Malka's midrasha. I would go to his classes, and Malka was there also. And he said about himself that there was never a class that he went into that he didn't prepare for less than 10 hours. And then he would ask, does anyone have questions? And the girls, no one had questions. And I remember once his student came to pick him up to drive him back to yeshiva, I heard him tell his student, no one had any questions. I just think it was a totally, waste of my time. And I don't feel at all that this is a waste of my time, but he felt like if no one challenges him, or if no one, if it doesn't arise anything in the people sitting in front of his soul, then it was like a waste of his time. And I think to myself, but this was the best class I ever heard. Like, how could he even say that? But yeah, that's how he felt.
Michal, I have a comment.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
In a perfect world, when you bend
Who is
down
this,
and
by the
tell
way?
your daughter,
Oh, Carol.
Carol
Okay, hi.
Azizo.
Yeah, hi.
How are you? In a perfect world, if you bend down and tell your daughter, if you choose to look at this task as difficult, it will be difficult for you.
Mhm.
Or if you choose to accept it as doable, then it will be doable. But you're not always going to get that "okay, mom" response. So
Of course not.
How,
Of course.
So, how do you maintain your space without being overcome with guilt for not being there for your child? I don't know if the word is being there for your child, but when they're not ready to receive that, so how do you deal with it?
Right. So the mother could have told her, you're going to live your life. What you have in your head is how you're going to live your life. And she could have continued nagging and saying, I can't, it's too much, it's too hard, I can't walk, right? That could have continued. Right. Now, I want to, at this point, this is the most important point of where I still need to be within my definition, right? I could get enmeshed with her and say, oh my God, how are we going to do? How's she going to do it? What's going to happen? I'll carry her, he'll carry her. Like, that's getting enmeshed. Or we can clearly stay within our definition and say, honey, it's really challenging. It's not easy. And we can empathize. There's the place of empathy, but not of hazi, or how are you going to do it, or this is too much, or whatever. There's a place of empathy of like, and I hate when everyone says life is hard, like suck it up. No, I'm not saying like that. I'm saying, yes, this is one of life's challenges. And when you're going to finish it, you're going to be so much stronger for it. It's a hike. Yeah, this hike was really meant for 10 years old. And here you are 4-year-old and you're doing it. And I don't know what would have happened. Her brother might have said, here, come on my back. Michal Peretz's husband might have said, he's in very good shape. Someone would have carried her, whatever. But we need to say our words as a guiding mother, as a guiding light for our children. We need to give them these tools. And I want, like, sometimes I think I had my mother-in-law and she passed away 6 years ago. And I am so grateful that there was a point in my life that I decided that I was going to take my mother-in-law's tools and put it in my knapsack. What could have also happened is she could have passed away. And only after she passed away, I would go back and pick up those pearls of wisdom and put them in my knapsack. So I want to be able for us to give our children with empathy and with love these ideas, these pearls of wisdom for their knapsack. And I don't know what's going to be with it, but it'll be there for them to take out and use whenever they need. Okay.
Thank you.
Like,
Michal,
yeah.
I also
Yeah.
want to say, like, even when you say this to your kids, even if they reject it, if you maintain that energy, if you still have the energy of the person who's hopeful and positive and, not seeing this as something terrible and not like falling into what you're saying, the enmeshment of, oh, you poor thing, just keeping your ground, like showing in an energetic way that you can maintain positivity and hopefulness and look at it as something good. It's just an energy. It's like an energetic. It's not the it's like
Right.
the yeah.
Right.
And
And-
you be
Mhm,
the
mhm.
example of it. They will pick up on it even if they're not ready. They'll still, you're not giving into it. You're not enabling them to be victimized and
Well, so I need to come from a very clean place of knowing that everything that Hashem put in my path is something that I need to go through. And it's like the butterfly, when we help the caterpillar that becomes a butterfly, if we break open the silk thread that they have around themselves, like the cocoon, they will not be able to fly, because that kind of struggle that they have to open up their cocoon, that's what develops their muscles to be able to fly afterwards. So we really need to believe that these incidences that come across our children's lives, they're meant to pass it. And now they really have a choice on seeing it as, and we have a choice on seeing our life. Oh my God, it's so hard. It's such a hard life. Like it's such a hard life is something that makes me crazy. It's a challenging life, and it's our opportunity that Hashem gave us to grow into the best of our abilities. That is what we have over here. We have an opportunity to flex our muscles and develop them so that we could fly. And we want our children to fly. It's believing that we are able to fly in this world. It's even more than, it's even more than that energy. It's even more than saying the words. It's us living the words. Yeah. Good one. Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, so now I'm happy to say that the SCA has it all taped and they know how to do it. Anyone that wants to listen to it, it's going to be on much faster than I was doing it, and and they're going to have all the space in the world. So thank you for them, and God willing, I'll see you next week. Bezrat Hashem.
Thank you, Michal. Shabbat shalom.